Hello, I'm Justin Seven with SportsbookReview.com, and this week I'm going to talk a little bit about the opening lines and line movements during preseason NFL. Now, when I talk about the opening line, there are actually two different sources of opening lines. The first is in Las Vegas. Las Vegas Sports Consultants puts out their opening number, and most of the Las Vegas books use that. The second source of the opening lines is, I'll call it the offshore lines, which for the most part is led by the Chris family of books, and to a lesser extent, Pinnacle and Olympic. Now, when an odds maker puts up an opening line, this is a lot like a public offering for a stock. They're not really sure what the exact number should be, but you just throw a dart out there and get it kind of close, and the market will bang it into shape. This Saturday, the Colts and the Falcons are playing. The line opened up with Atlanta as a 1-point underdog, and a lot more money came in on the Falcons than the Colts. When the bookmakers get one-sided action, it worries them. As long as they get even action on both sides, they're always going to win. The way that works is, if one person bets $110 to win $100 on Atlanta, a person bets $110 to win $100 on Indianapolis, then no matter what happens in the game, the bookmaker wins $110, loses $100, and then makes $10 for every $200 bet. That's how most bookmakers try to run their business. But when a line is off, like this opener of Atlanta +1, people keep betting Atlanta, and the bookmakers have to make it more expensive so people won't keep betting Atlanta. So they move the line to pick, and they move it to -1, they move it to -2, and finally, when they have Atlanta at -3, they start getting balanced action on both sides. There are different sources of money, and you can tell who's betting based on when in the week it's placed. Some of the guys are sitting here pressing F5, 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 refresh as often as they can right when the lines are coming out. They already have done their homework, they know what they think the line should be, and they're going to bet anything that's too far away from theirs. These are usually sharp players. So usually the first few bets that are made during a week are by wise guys. When these openers come out Sunday or Monday evening, there's not a whole lot of public money on that. The public money starts off as just, drip, 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 drip. As the week progresses, it drips faster and faster, and by the last hour before the game, it's a downpour, a torrential downpour. Let's take a look at the line movements on the Atlanta-Indianapolis game. SportsbookReview.com has a free lines page where you can see what the market prices are on any game, and that's at sbrlines.com. Alright, I'm going to go to sbrlines.com, click on NFL, and then spreads and totals. This lets me look at all the games and spreads line information for this week. Now, the one I'm really interested in is Indianapolis and Atlanta. Now, I'm interested in the Colts-Falcons game, which we're looking here opened at -1. So I'm going to click on the line history of Bookmaker. To do that, I just go to Bookmaker, which is part of the Chris family, click on the -3, and I can see exactly what happened. We see here that the Colts opened up as a 1-point favorite at 1:20 p.m. on Monday, and by 11 o'clock of that same night it had flipped and the Colts were a 3-point underdog. Most of the time when you see line movement on the same day that the game came out, that's usually sharp money. The public money is more often comes in on game day, in the last hour before the game. Now, a user at SBR wrote me, against all odds, and he asked, what does it mean when the movement on an NFL total line game goes like this? In last week's Cincinnati-Green Bay game, the total opened at 36, it went down all the way to 33.5, and then back up at 35. When a game starts at one point, it goes down and then back up, whether it's a spread or a total, that's a lot more difficult to analyze than just a one-sided line movement, and it could be caused by any number of reasons. It's possible that the opening number of 36 was too high. When it got down to 34, new information came out. For example, one of the starting quarterbacks might play an extra rotation, and that would drive it up slightly. Just like a stock, the price of a game will go up or down based on new information that becomes available. There are two key groups of information that affect the spread or total in the game. The first, obviously, is the status of a player. If a player becomes injured or is downgraded from probable to questionable or doubtful, where he's less likely to play, the team is impacted by that, and if he's a key player, the spread is going to move against that team. The second area is the weather. certain kinds of weather tend to favor scoring, whereas certain kinds of weather is bad for scoring. You know, the ideal game for scoring is when it's 64 degrees with no wind, whereas if it's ridiculously cold and windy and snowy, scoring goes down. And oddly enough, if the temperature goes too high, if it's 100 degrees, scoring tends to go down. If you have any other general gambling questions, feel free to write me at justin@sportsbookreview.com or send me a PM at sportsbookreview.com.